Hello and welcome, or welcome back to Paradiso Integrale. This is our weekly video conversation.
We are the Wisdom Factory, and the Paradiso Integrale is our non-profit association.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're calling this series Conscious Aging, and we try to explore every aspect of growing older. I'm Mark Davenport here with my partner and motivator and corrector.
I did online.
Could you tell people how to comment and participate in the show?
Yeah, I hope you are on our website, thewisdomfactory.net, and have clicked on live streaming. So you are on the page where we broadcast the show of today with Bonnie Greenwell. And there you can leave your comments. If you leave your comments on YouTube, we don't see them. I'm sorry for that. No. So please go to thewisdomfactory.net and click on live streaming.
Yeah. So today we're looking at the importance of spiritual practices, which become more important, I think, as we grow older. And we're pleased to have with us Bonnie Greenwell, PhD. And Bonnie, would you say hello to people?
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Looking forward to having a chat with you.
Oh, we are too. Today, we understand that we're not going to create peace in the world if we don't have peace within ourselves. And so what originally was a tool for our personal well-being, it has become really a way to co-create peace in the world.
And what we are talking about meditation and centering, because this is the title for today's show, the role of meditation and centering in finding inner peace. And we want to direct it especially, not only, to the older generations like us.
Yeah. A couple words about Bonnie. She's a psychologist and non-dual spiritual teacher in the lineage of Adyashanti. She was a co-founder of the Kundalini Research Network and established Shanti River Center in Ashland, Oregon, where she lives most of the year. Not at the River Center, but in Ashland, I would say. Yeah. She offers transpersonal counseling, non-dual educational programs, webinars, etc. She's done assessments and consulting with thousands of people, and she's authored the Kundalini Guide and the Awakening Guide. And our friend Albert Clamp mentioned a book she wrote back in the 90s, and I can't remember the name of it, but he was most impressed. Yeah. So maybe now you'd like to take a minute to...
I want to say all the links to the books you find on the webpage, her personal webpage on thewisdomfactory.net. Bonnie Greenwell.
Yep.
Okay.
And now, time to make us retract anything we lied about, or add anything you'd like before we start the conversation.
Oh, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. I will just say that my original book was called Energies of Transformation, a guide to the Kundalini process, and it was based on my doctoral research. So it was published back when I got my PhD, about a year after that.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of pulled me into this kind of work of doing assessments and consulting with people who had had spiritual awakenings of one sort or another.
Well, most PhD theses don't get wide press, but evidently this one had some effect. So congratulations on that. Yeah. Well, we're here, I don't want to say strictly from the point of view of older people, though we are older people, all of us. But we really are in a time in the life of the world where things are really fragile and upsetting and threatening to disintegrate in many ways. And it's so difficult when I see people yelling and screaming at each other, not being able to communicate, and how difficult it can be to work together as a society, as a working group, as a political unit, as as young talking to old, as have-nots talking to haves, etc. It's vicious out there. What can we do?
Yeah, and many people think you learn some communication skills, which is not a bad idea, and then you can understand each other. But I wonder if this is the right way, and I guess you will have something to say about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to just speak from the point of view of meditation and centering, since that's the theme of our meeting.
Yeah.
Usually there's two things that can happen when you learn to meditate and you need to go into your own center, that everyone has within them at some point a calm center. But most of us are so busy with our minds and our thoughts and our feelings that we fail to notice it. It's like the center of the cyclone, the still point. And meditation is about learning to find that place in yourself. And when you do, it gives you an ability to step back, take a backward step from all the turmoil that you might be feeling in response to a political event or a family trauma or whatever is going on, whatever disturbs you. It's like being able to bring awareness into a witness place, a quiet place that can look at what's going on from a more compassionate and objective perspective. So it helps you to even witness your own emotional reactivity and not be so quick to get entangled in it. So that's one of the great advantages of meditation. And if people consistently and over the long term learn to do that for themselves, then they're able to be more effective in the world. Because as you probably know, people are more likely to listen to you when you come at them from an open and compassionate kind of an understanding place of where they are, rather than just reacting out of anger and the fiery desire to change things. So there's a real universal advantage to all of us learning to rest and to find this still place, both personally and collectively.
Yeah. I feel drawn to talk about at the moment the division between the young and the old, because the young, I often am very confident in their ability to understand this new world, this new century we're in. And then I am very disappointed when I see them finding fault with people our age. Not that we are blameless, I don't mean that at all, but the reaching out, I wish more of it came from them. I feel like from our point of knowledge and wisdom and experience, we need, of course, to reach out also to the young people and share what we have garnered in our many decades of life. And I'm particularly concerned because despite their real brightness and intelligence in many ways, there's still this edge of anger, of disappointment. And I am really, what can we do? How can we reach both older and younger into some kind of ability to talk to one another openly, you know?
Or with other words, how can we make it attractive to do meditation?
Really, that's it. You know what?
Well, let me speak to that just from what I feel about it. First of all, I'm finding as a spiritual teacher that many young people are very awake and very present and very open to being a positive change in the world. So I haven't found a lot of angry young people. Of course, I'm a spiritual teacher, so they're not likely to come to me. But I'm just saying there's another strand of young people that are really quite remarkable, have tremendous insight and compassion, really want the world to be a healthier place. So that's a good counterbalance. Secondly, I think it's important to remember that, most of us are children of the 60s, and that was a very angry and tumultuous time. And that it's a sort of a stage of life that when people are the most idealistic and the most sense of that the world people need to change, and the most likely to blame the older generations. And then as they mature and they get a little bit older, they begin to tap into the resources that have always been there, the great teachers and guides and history, perspective of history. Like I can say, as I got older, I got much more interested in the overview of history than I was when I was 21 or 22. Oh, yeah. And so, we mature into broader minded, kinder people as we get older. And I think that for those of us that are older, what I have found, I've just completed a group at my center. We spent about 8 weeks talking about this very issue of this sense of helplessness a lot of us feel because of all the turmoil in the world. And we know that no one of us is going to save the world. So there's a great sense of despair and pain in a lot of people about world events, especially here in this country, I would guess all over the place right now. Politics are very divided. But what I have come to feel in myself is that each of us has one thing that's our passion, that we really care a lot about, and one talent at least that we can use. And the older we are, the more we're in touch with what our one thing is. And just like you two, you've found your one thing, which is doing this program to support aging consciously. You're doing it, you're giving it. And what you put out is going to be there. You told me earlier, it's going to be here forever. It won't disappear. So I think as we get older, that's how I feel about my books and my websites and my teaching, is that I have no idea who it will touch. I'm hoping they will outlive me. I'm putting it out more now. I'm about to put out a new book next year that I hope it's not for me. I don't need it. It's for the future, that people who are going through awakenings and who need guidance will find it. And I think that's what we do as we're getting older. We're generative, we're leaving behind, and we can't be in control of who picks it up and who's going to find it. And maybe it'll be 50 years from now. Can you think of books that were written 50 years ago that helped you along the way in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Or teachings? And now we have the internet. So everything's not only in books, it's like easily accessible to all these young people who live on the internet or on their cell phones. It's all a push of a button and they can hear what we have to say. So I think we just need to trust more that the one thing that we can comfortably put out, because it's what we know, is going to have an influence and an impact on those young people as they start their own search for their own place in the world. So that's kind of how I look at it right now. I don't worry too much about them because I remember the 60s. And so, that's my position right now.
I wanted to say here, this is also maybe for us a spiritual practice to let go of needing to be, to know that we have thousands of followers. We don't, but who knows? I have noted that one of my videos about 3 years ago, where I talked about Roberto Assagioli and psychosynthesis, has now over 3,000 views, And at the beginning was nobody there in the live. I mean, nobody, maybe 10 people, maybe 15 people or so. And you never know how it comes out. Maybe in time we will improve our ability to create good headlines or something like this, so that it is found. Yeah, it is. It must be found, and this is a little bit a science in itself. But nonetheless, it is. I have learn that, to let go that, when I sang, I was a singer, no? And singing in front of 2,000 people, it's wonderful. And the next time there were only 20. So to learn that you still do the same thing with the same enthusiasm and the same confidence, and even better on the internet, because a concert, it's gone afterwards. So I think it is a big call for us older people to do what we do in a good intent and let go of the outcome.
Yep. And
that's great. That's called karma yoga. Doing the very best you can and having no attachment to the results. Knowing that it's out there in the universe, it's coming through you. It's not for you. It's coming through you, and you just let it go. I've had to learn that because I've worked a lot with the issue of Kundalini awakening, which is a very unfamiliar and foreign term to many people. And so a lot of times when I speak to groups, I'm not speaking to the whole audience. I'm just speaking to those who need to know what I have to say, because they have this energy moving in them they don't know what to do with. They don't know what it's about. They're frightened. So, I've had to not care about anybody who doesn't understand it or doesn't feel like we should be discussing it because it's not Western medicine. I just put it out. And like I did an interview like this on Bat Gap, Buddha at the Gas Pump. He does wonderful interviews every week too with spiritual people, and it's had over 10,000 hits since then. It's been about a year and a half since I did it. So you just don't know. You have no control over who's going to watch it or how they're going to interpret it. But all you can do is put out what you know from your heart, from your life. And that's what we have. We've had a lot of life experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What a relief that is, that we're not responsible for what happens afterwards. But there's no point in blaming ourselves for not being better than we were or whatever. It's just immaterial. It's immaterial because who we are is out there, and who can respond to that, who will.
That's right.
And that's it. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. And that we have a lot of the so-called baby boomers coming into their older years now. And there's lots of them. And a lot of them are going to be seeking spiritual guidance and ways to be more generative as they hit those years and they retire. So we're speaking to a lot of those people, and we'll be gone by the time they're 80 years old, 70 years old. But
I will not. No.
Maybe we'll be working from another plane.
Oh, I don't. Maybe I'll be in the plane before I leave. But I'm aiming at 100, which my mother reached a couple of years ago.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, my husband has family that lived that long too.
Yeah.
But I would like to ask you a little bit. You are talking about meditation and centering, and there are so many types of meditation out there. So could you a little bit describe what you mean with meditation and which could help to give us these benefits we have talked about?
Oh, and what kinds of meditation help some people more than others, depending on.
Too long.
No, well, we still have 40 minutes.
Okay.
Well, there's many, as you've noticed, there are many forms of meditation, and different people are going to respond to different kinds. So there's no one size fits all. But I would say that mindfulness has become really common in the culture, and it's very easy to find teachings on mindfulness meditation. But what I prefer and what I usually invite people to do is much more of letting everything be as it is kind of meditation, rather than concentration on something. And a lot of times there's certain meditations where you concentrate on the third eye and you're working hard. And I don't think that is as useful, especially as we're older, as just learning to find our center, to just, it's, if you, on the website, ajashanti.org, he has a description of what he calls true meditation that you can download for free and read and try. That's just it's a very simple sitting kind of meditation. But I can do a meditation with you if you want, of what I often teach people before we finish today, if you would like. It's really, I always suggest, if you're going to meditate, you sit down first and you ground yourself in the chair. You become aware. It's an awareness of where you are and how your body feels. You feel you're connected to that chair where your butt is being held and supported there. You feel your feet on the floor. You feel you don't have to be sitting in any strange posture. You just try to have your back straight, your neck relaxed on your shoulders, and you feel your arms, your hands where they're resting, and you tune into your body first. That's a grounding, and that's good to do when you come out of a meditation too. Take a minute and be totally present, just where you're sitting. And then I suggest that it's easier if we close our eyes and we kind of bring awareness. First of all, just feel the awareness of the space around you. You can feel there's an air. It might be cool or a little warm. You're aware there's my voice. There's aware of other sounds. Awareness just kind of floats around and notices what's going on. And it also can go on inside of you. You can notice with awareness, you can move it up and down. You can be aware that your thoughts are busy. You can be aware if there's a feeling. You can be aware if there's a sensation going on somewhere in your body. So you're tuning into being awareness. And then just bring the awareness down below the neck, maybe into the heart area or into the center of your body, the hara, about the place of the navel, the center of the belly there. And just let awareness be there as if you could look out from your belly. You're just kind of following the breath. As you inhale, you let the belly come out a little bit. As you exhale, you let it relax. And you just be present with that breathing. If you're very new to meditation, then you may want to count the breaths 1 through 10, just to help you concentrate a little bit, not be so distracted by thought. If you're not so new, you've meditated before, just be aware of this awareness and how present it is. It's always right now. And so if your mind comes up with a thought, you just drop back into what's aware of the thought. You're just being the awareness. You're just being present with everything just as it is. And if a memory comes up or some emotion, you can acknowledge it. You don't have to push it away, but come back to what's aware of that. Who's aware of that? Rather than getting caught up in the story. And you may get caught up for a while. That's not a problem. You don't have to be upset about it. You just come back, okay, I'll deal with that later. And you go back to, here I am just sitting here being aware now. I'm sitting here present. I am awareness. I am consciousness. I am presence. And you just relax as that. And then you can, when you're ready to come out of a meditation, notice again your feeling of sitting in the chair and your feet on the floor. And you can let your eyes slowly open, and you can be aware that awareness is what's looking out of your eyes. You're just present now. This awareness is enlivening your senses. You're present as through vision and hearing, and you can tune into the breath. You can notice how you both look pretty relaxed, like your body relaxes when you do that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I have meditations on each of my websites. There's one on the Kundalini guide, particularly for people who have activated some energy in their body and want to learn how to cooperate with it and let it move up and down the spine. And there's one on another website, awakeningguide.com, that's a very classic Vedantic exercise of I have a body, but I am not my body. I have a mind, but I'm not my mind. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. And so if someone wants to experiment with those forms of meditation, all they have to do is go to my websites, kundaliniguide.com or awakeningguide.com, and just click the icon that says meditation, and they can listen to those.
That's nice. I want to give you a little feedback. First of mine, I really felt sort of a transmission.
Yep, me
and
too.
I realized I'm quite able to keep awareness almost everywhere in my body and on the thoughts, and it feels like a unit somehow, and like an egg around me, sort of. And then Monica, she said it is very relaxing, and she thanks you.
Thank you. Yes, it is, and it's really being in touch with what you really are, which is consciousness. It's being in touch with yourself as consciousness, and it has no boundary. That's what you're experiencing. Because when you're in that place, if you kind of tune into trying to see it, do I feel a difference between my physical inside and outside? You really can't find a boundary. It's as if consciousness is holding us. And when we go into the awareness is kind of the way consciousness lives through us, moves through us. So when we focus on being the awareness, we're much more in tune with that primal consciousness that flows through everything. And that's why you felt that sense of no boundary.
Our dog felt excitement, and he wants to go out. So he's meditating in his way.
He is. But, let me point out, as you deal with the dog, that you can do this kind of a thing when you're out walking in nature, too. You don't have to have your eyes closed and be shut away. Just become, when you're walking in the woods or in the fields or by the ocean, just be very present. Just think of yourself as presence here now, being with what is here. And it will bring you that same sense of being awake and aware and conscious and relaxed. Because if you think about it, most of the time when we're walking around out there, our minds are somewhere else. We're very rarely in the moment. And the thing that is going to bring you peace ultimately is being right where you are in that moment, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And we have plenty of opportunity for that here, because we have 25 acres around us with a lovely walk through a woods.
And sometimes we do it, not too often. And I wanted to say, excuse me, something about animals too. She didn't hear your voice because we have these things, and so she couldn't tune in. But we have cats. And when we sit in meditation, especially one cat is really coming up and is sitting with me. So they feel it. I really do think.
Your energy, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
A lot of people find that their cats like to curl up in their laps or at their feet when they're meditating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
the dog's a little big for that.
Yeah, dogs like a little more action. They're more active oriented usually.
Bonnie, I would like, when we met first, you told me about centering and about doing Qigong or something like this. And we began to do that. And there are centering exercises. Would you recommend also to do these things to people generally?
Yes, but I think that, especially as you're older, you have to experiment. So I think that there's many forms of Qigong, and I would prefer the more gentle forms, the more flowing forms. Yeah. There's a couple of forms that really emphasize healing harmonizing. That's what you want. Something like that, especially if you haven't been used to it and you're 60, 70 years old. Experiment a little bit. And if it doesn't feel good, don't keep doing it. Don't force yourself. And if you go to a class, do it for a little while. And if you feel like taking a rest, take a rest. And just kind of see if it fits for you. And I think it can be very good, very healing. It can, some forms really create longevity. And Tai Chi also. That's why you see these pictures of the Chinese in the parks doing these graceful, balanced, harmonious movements. They're balancing their energy fields. And that's very calming, and it soothes the body organs so they don't have to work so hard, and it soothes the mind. So I think it can be a very good practice.
I felt the difference, especially when we do it before going to bed. I normally sleep much better, much longer, at least 6 hours or 7 hours. And I really feel it. Also, you know what I thought when I do these movements? It is somehow easier than sitting meditation, because when the body is moving, it's a little bit going out of the head is easier. It is sort of automatic because you are in movement. And I think there are people who are more like sitting still, and there are other people who are not so much like sitting still. As you said, go in the nature. Yeah,
you're right. They are a meditative form, because you're not using, you can't really be thinking. You have to be present with what you're feeling, very similarly to the kind of meditation we were just doing. Yeah. So yes, if you're a person that prefers movement and finds just sitting a kind of dull, those are very excellent ways to do it. I wanted to add one other thing a minute ago. I had forgotten it. I heard a talk the other day about a movement in Japan called forest bathing. And I just loved that idea. And they're even in their health system encouraging it. And it has to do with just going out in the forest and absorbing the energy there, just walking in the woods. And, they're in Germany, there's so many opportunities for that. So I just wanted to pass that on. That would be another form of meditation, really, to go there and just be present with the trees and the energy of the greenery and the birds, and just let it kind of soak through your body and take that peaceful stability of especially like an old growth forest into your body. That would be another kind of meditation.
Yeah.
Well, we're not in Germany, though. We're in Italy.
Italy. Well,
yeah, Heidi is German, but I'm an American.
I'm sorry, I forgot. No. I don't know why I had that feeling. Maybe because of your name.
Yeah, sure. But I know about the German woods, and when I was a child, we went there often, and I loved it, and I loved garden, and that's why we are living here in the countryside. Because 30 years ago, with my ex-partner, we bought this house, and it's right, and I did right near the wood, and has a big meadow, and I had sheep, and I had chicken, and I had everything, and a big garden, and we still have
olive trees.
Olive trees. Italy is gorgeous. I absolutely love Italy. I've been there several times. I think walking through the hills and the vineyards, you could do vineyard bathing and
we can also we can also do Roman ruin bathing because very nearby, a couple miles away, really.
And
we
then
have
it's
a
the
wonderful walk down to the river.
Ancient rocks.
Oh my goodness!
And then it goes down to the river, and this is a piece of natural country. Site, it is the meanders of the river, the Tiber River, and I love to be there just to look into the water, and that is also sort of meditation. And we go there at least 3 times a week. Yeah,
that's a great place. There's a Hindu scripture in which a goddess recommends standing in the middle of a river for 1,000 years.
In the middle is a little difficult, but at the edge. Anyway, if you come and see us, we go down there. It's really like a secret place because almost nobody is there. Only on Sunday somebody, but normally we are alone with our dog and we can really
with the dog and the stones and the ruins and there's the bar and the cappuccino.
That too.
Yeah. But we're between Rome and Florence.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're in a wonderful area. I've been in both places and been in Assisi and some of those beautiful areas and lots of places in Italy. My husband's mother is Italian, so he has a real affinity for Italy too.
So next time you come and see us.
We have lots of room.
Yeah. And there's Monica and asking you, what is your experience with pranayama?
Pranayama is, for those that don't know, is an experience of alternate nostril breathing. So it starts with a very simple practice where you count and you inhale through one nostril, closing the other, and then you close that one and you exhale through the other. Its function is to balance energies that go on either side of the spine. These are called nadis in the Hindu tradition. There's the central nadi is called Sushumna. The ones on each side are called Ida and Pingala. If you want a visual image, think of the caduceus, that's the medical symbol.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with those two lines crossing, ironically, they don't understand this aspect of energy, but it's been their symbol because it's a very ancient symbol of healing. So many yogic systems teach people pranayama, and it's supposed to quiet the mind and harmonize the energy. And if that's your, I don't see anything wrong with doing it. It's part of a major yoga practice for awakening Kundalini energy ultimately. And after you've learned to do it at the basic level, you get where you hold your breath for longer and longer periods, and you're kind of building up pressure to build this energy and move it up the spine. I don't think it's necessary for spiritual awakening. I've seen many people wake up who've never done anything like that. And I think for some people, it's a little distressing. It raises too much energy. And I think when we're older, we don't really need to be working on energy so much as simply the stillness that we've been talking about. That if you find the stillness and the presence, you can wake up without doing all the advanced breathing practices and yoga practices that are in the classic system for awakening Kundalini.
Well, I kind of like your permission to lean in that direction rather than the other.
Yeah, I was curious about you connect this with getting older. So what is it? Is it that in young years you have to work for that? Is this a cultural idea that we have to work to reach something?
No, they're just two different perspectives. The one that came out of the yoga model, and the other that comes out of the Buddhist model of meditation. And I always thought, and when I was first, I spent a lot of time researching Kundalini, and I spent some time in India and talked to a number of gurus and yoga teachers. And I believed initially that you needed to activate Kundalini and bring this energy up in order to have these transcendent experiences of oneness, to wake up to unitive consciousness. That's the whole point of yoga. And if you're inclined to do that in your good health, go ahead, do it. It's a system that works, but it can cause a lot of energetic chaos in the body. And that can be very uncomfortable. It can bring up a lot of old psychological issues and unfinished business. And it can intensify areas of the body that maybe have had some damage, some kind of surgery or injury. It can bring up traumas from your history if you've never resolved them. So it's better, I think, for younger people who are in good health, if they want to go that route and they feel from their deeper self, that's the way they're drawn, they're easier able to deal with all the energetic dynamics that might arise. Whereas, somebody that's got a hip problem or some kind of doesn't like to be that disturbed, it can keep you up a lot at night. Might not sleep very much anymore, which happens a lot anyway when we get older. So it isn't necessary to do it that way. That's just the model that came out of India that the gurus use. But after I started sitting with Adyashanti, who woke up in the Zen Buddhist tradition, he doesn't teach Buddhism, but he teaches awakening, how to wake up consciousness. I saw many people have that transformation of consciousness without first awakening Kundalini. And then sometimes, very often, their energy does awaken after that kind of a shift, but it's usually not as radical a process because their consciousness is kind of prepared for it, and they're more able to hold the dynamics of the energy. And that's not always true. Some people if they have a real traumatic history, they may have a lot of energetic trauma in their body that has to be released. But because really Kundalini, I've come to see it as a clearing process. It's clearing out everything in you that's not at peace. But first you have to see it. It has to be brought up. So it's a challenging way to go. And you just have to be up for it. It has to be your thing. If you're kind of an adventurer and you're kind of a fiery person and you don't mind having your body shaking a lot of energy going, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I want to clarify this a little bit, though. That doesn't mean you should never do yoga, because many yoga practices are designed to open the body gently and help you to be more stronger, to give you a better, healthier body. So gentle forms of yoga practice can be very helpful, and just like the Qigong is. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying never do any of that. I'm just saying look at your general health and your lifestyle. If you have a supporting partner and that will take care of you, if you go through a few days of having so much energy you don't want to do anything around it, that supports you both psychologically and physically when you need it, and you want to experiment, you're drawn that way, there's no reason not to. But be forewarned. In fact, the best thing to do if you think you want to do this and you never have is to read my book, The Kundalini Guide, because that lays out all the issues that come up in a Kundalini process. Mm-hmm. And read it and decide if you're up for it.
Okay, I want to read what Monica said. First, in addition to her question, she said, does it clear the channels? And then she says, actually, I was thinking about Bellows breathing, belly breathing probably, I don't know, which I learned in the 70s in New York City. Bhastrika Pranayama.
Yeah, I know Bhastrika. So ask her, I'd like to have her say, how did it impact her?
Okay, Monica, you heard it, write it down in the comments. How did it impact you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Monica is in
she's
Vienna.
in Vienna, yeah. And
Vienna, that's another beautiful place. I love Vienna.
Yeah. It will take some time, so maybe in the meantime we can go on.
Bellows breathing is very intense. I'll just say that. It'll raise energy. It raises a lot of energy. That's its function. That's why it's there, to raise the energy, the Kundalini energy. So it's like panting, like with your stomach coming in and out really fast.
Yeah. And this is like
you do that for just about 30 seconds and you'll feel it all over your body. Your energy will feel very charged.
Our dog knows this process, yes.
I think that's what they used in a rebirthing process, which I've done with Claudio Naranjo. That was interesting, yeah.
Well, it comes up, actually sometimes in meditators it happens spontaneously. And it's also part of rebirthing, and it's part of the breathwork processes that Stan Groff. It'll come up. It's not that you try to do it. It's just when you alter your breath a little bit, then it'll go into that for a while. It brings up immense amounts of energy. So again, it's just, you've got to be ready for it. It can, many people activate Kundalini energy through those kinds of breathwork practices.
Monica,
Right.
all right. She had an unexpected experience of cosmic consciousness.
Yeah, it can do that. That's its function. And but again, it's going to raise a lot of energy. You got to be up for it. You got to know you're okay with, and the energy may stay up, and it may not go back down again. The cosmic conscious experience is lovely, and it's not the end of the process. You usually you can have your body shaking and jerking and vibrating for years off and on, if you've opened the Kundalini energy enough to experience those sudden moments of cosmic consciousness. And this whole clearing process can begin. Most people who have a sudden opening like that, it's wondrous, and it changes how you see everything. But that blissful aspect of it fades away, and then there's usually the clearing process begins. And then they get kind of upset because old memories, old patterns reassert themselves. You think you're totally free of all of that, and some of your old patterns will reassert. Suddenly you're really angry at somebody, or you're sad again, or you feel like you've lost your sense of who you are. And so there's usually a long process that follows an awakening of that sort, in which you could say that the conscious self gradually gets a little more strong, and the personal self becomes more, reduces its power in your life. But it can be a real up and down feeling for a very long time. And again, my book, The Awakening Guide, is a description of all the things that happen after an awakening like that. Yeah. So,
Monica,
it's all good. You just got to be ready for all the changes.
She writes, when she returned to Vienna, there was no Kundalini yoga courses there, and the energy was stuck in the throat chakra.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that it's going to come back down again. It's going to create some things to work through. And a good practice for her, I know that she's talking in the past like it's not an issue now, but there's sounds called the Bij mantras, B-I-J, and you can use them to open the chakras. So they're a resonant kind of, you vibrate the chakra with them. You can find people that do them on YouTube. The one for the throat is, let's see, Haum, H-A-U-M, and you would just go, Haum. And you just do that a few times a day, and that can help open up that energy. Many people do have blockages in the throat, especially women, because we've learned not to say what we think. We've learned to hold back. And in a way, you could say that every time in your life you've contracted against something, you've created a little bit of a block in your subtle body field, sure, in your energy field. And it's very common to have throat blockages. You learned it as a young child not to say the wrong thing, or in school, or around your parents, or around certain other people. And so we get very constricted. And this energy, ultimately, it wants everything in your body to get very open, so that awareness that you have, that cosmic consciousness, can actually become embodied. And you can feel a sense of that's what's moving in your life.
Yeah, Monica says in another comment, that's not the end of the process. She fully agrees with you.
Yeah.
And she said, my throat chakra opened up many, many years later.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she says, yes, it's the sound.
Yeah. Good. I'm happy to hear that. And people, that's kind of the people I work with. I do a lot of assessments on the web with people from all over the world who are in those processes and don't understand it because they don't know anybody to talk to about it. Many people activate these things accidentally. Maybe they're doing breath work with someone that isn't spiritually oriented, or maybe they've had an accident that has shifted their consciousness in some way, a near-death experience or a trauma or deep, deep grief. If you read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, in the beginning of his book, he had an awakening through great despair and depression, and he just fell through it. So it was kind of an emotional crisis that brought him into that. And I asked him once if he had had energy phenomena, and he agreed he had. He doesn't write about that aspect of it. So, so if anybody's listening to you that's had that kind of erratic energy and shifts and blocks, just know that that's part of the awakening process. You're in a process where your own life force is trying to help consciousness wake up more and more within you. And a lot of things fall away. A lot of our stuff falls away when that happens. So, you know, just be aware of it, learn more about it. Look at my websites or Aja Shanti's website. Come to understand the awakening process a little more if it's happening to you.
I think it's so important also that this notion goes out, because I remember, probably it's not Kundalini, but I had in my early time, and even up to, let's say, 10 years ago, I felt vibrations in my body, and I tried to get them away because I thought it is illness or something which is wrong with me, you know, and nobody told me that this is normal, you know, or can be even something very good. So instead of opening up, I, for fear that it might be illness, tried to not feel it anymore. And then when I don't feel it anymore, I'm fine, you know. So
allopathic approach.
Yeah.
No symptoms, no problem.
So, yeah, and I think many illnesses which are considered illnesses are not, but people don't know about what is happening in the body and this energetic circuits and whatever. So I find it so important that this notion goes out.
I agree. And I think that we need to understand that we are energetic beings. We're energy fields. We're molecular structures. We're also chemical factories. You know, that's been explored a lot in Western medicine, but the energetic field is not really understood in the West. And it is understood in Eastern cultures, and that's why you see these models available there. But even if you're meditating a lot, it's not uncommon for energy to start moving in your body. And also, if you're under a lot of stress, I've talked to people who weren't spiritually oriented. It wasn't about that, but they had an incredible stressful time, and all of a sudden their body started shaking because the energy field wants to release that. It wants to get that out of your system. So sometimes you just need to lay down on your bed and let your body shake it out. And sometimes it's not any big deal. It's just, you've just got a lot of things you've picked up in there that you need to let go of.
But you would think, oh, what is happening to me, if you don't know.
Right, and you get scared, and that makes it worse. And usually if you try to contract against it to stop it, it gets a lot harder. So you were lucky if it actually went away, because usually it's trying harder to get out if you're tightening up. And so you can start to feel pain. It can become very uncomfortable.
Yeah. You know, as a good German, we can be strong.
Well, as a good baby boomer myself, and probably we're the same age, in the 60s, I did a lot of, well, no, not a lot, but considerable playing with drugs.
Right.
And oh my goodness, my first LSD experience just absolutely has been unforgettable.
Yes.
It was just so blasting open all these boundaries. This absolutely, there was no filter between me and experience, none at all. And it's in a sense that started me on this path of there is something else. There definitely is. I didn't do that for a long time. It was just too complicated, too inconvenient, too illegal and messy to continue with. But oh wow, I'm very grateful for those early experiences. They pointed me in a direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know many, many people just like that
Yeah.
they had their initial openings on a psychedelic.
Yeah.
And that's still happening today. But the thing is, with usually on a psychedelic, it takes you so far, so fast, and it changes you, but you don't have a context for it. You know, you can't, where if you go into an awakening more gradually, you're kind of more capable of living it. Where with the psychedelic, you're going way out there, and then you come way back to earth, and it's very hard to put the two together for most people.
It
But
can
it does
create
change the direction of your life if
Yeah.
you've had that positive experience rather than a negative.
So my
Yeah.
experiences were either or after that in a
right.
certain way.
No, I know that there can be created great psychological problems, no, out of that when you are not strong enough to hold experiences like this. That's a theoretical knowledge.
Did not.
Oh, let me see a little bit.
Well, that's not true. It's true. Not the same. Everybody doesn't have the same experience. And if the psyche's not very well developed, and it's kind of you kind of don't know who you are yet, and you know you're not very stable. It can be a very destabilizing experience. Or if you've had a lot of trauma, it can be nightmarish because you can have demons and things appearing as apparently. So, and for some people, it's just ecstasy. So, what can you say? It's a risk. And you have no control once you take the pill. If you're doing it in meditation, you can stop. So there's advantages and disadvantages, but certainly many awakened people began through a psychedelic experience back in the day, and they still are today. That's still happening, even more probably, but it's a little more under the radar.
Anyway, I think it's good for these things to have a guide. And
absolutely,
you are offering your services also over internet, over Skype, you said, no? Or Zoom or something?
If people need an assessment or consultation, they can connect with me through my websites, and I'll get their email from the website, and I'll send them a questionnaire, and then we set up appointments, usually on Skype. If they don't have Skype, we might do it on the phone. Sometimes I set up meetings through Zoom.us, which is a good go-to-meeting service. And we'll have a consultation about their process. Usually my fee for that's about $100. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I do internet programs to bring people together that had these experiences, people that I've already done a consulting with. But there's a lot of good basic information just on my websites and in my books. And the books are available on Amazon as well as Kindle. So that would give people a good, basic perspective.
Yeah. If you go to thewisdomfactory.net/Bonnie Greenwell, then you find them all, the books listed, and you find her website there written and everything and information which you need. Here it is.
Yeah.
wisdomfactory.net, and you look for Bonnie Greenwell and you will find it.
Yep.
Bonnie, that was really great, and thank you for being with us, and we really hope that it will reach as many people who just are looking for that information, and that who is listening to it and they know somebody who has similar experiences and struggles and doesn't know how to take it, and so send them to this video and send them then to Bonnie. Okay?
Yeah. Bonnie, you're very gentle, informative, and comfortable person to be with. This is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So are you. It's been lovely to chat with you.
Thank you. And for the meditation guidance, I really appreciated it. Yeah. And I think I will make a little video out of it and post it extra so that people can go there again and do it again.
And so can we.
And so can we.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, people, we have other 2 episodes in the Conscious Aging series before the summer break. Then we will have another one in the Conversation That Matters series in July, and then we have 2 months nothing. And we want to.
I don't have more tables to fix.
Oh, he is now going away from the internet and is beginning to be a carpenter. So,
returning to the marketplace.
Okay, good. So, thank you for watching, and come back to the Wisdom Factory and even tell us what you want to listen to and watch to and who you want to see. And we are happy to talk with the people. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.